acts as a primer. The Millionare Fastlane changed how I view products, the world of value, maybe the biggest thing, straight up. So today I'm going to be talking about the Millionare Fastlane. It's a book that really changed a lot about, who I became, who I am now, and kind of even just the path I'm going down. The whole trilogy that I made, it's been a huge influence in that. This is part of a new book series called Behavior Change, in which I will be talking about how these certain books really changed my behavior kind of fundamentally, what influences they had maybe in my thought processes, and how I view the world, how I act for the most part, the tangible things. Because I look at most of the book reviews and they're great, but I feel like what they miss out on is how it'll influence you as a person. And that's what I'm here for. If you want to find a general book review, then I would really recommend you to watch this video by Ali Abdaal. It's a great video. I want to start this off by saying that the book really acts as a primer a lot more than anything else. Whilst it has a huge amount of information, what it does the most is change how you perceive information, change how you view the world, and it kind of creates a new filter for information around you. And I think along the process of this explanation, of this review, you'll understand kind of what I mean. Let's start it off by talking about maybe the biggest thing, straight up. It's something I've said a few times on my channel before, and you've heard me talk about it. It's turning from a consumer to a creator. It's funny because when I said that in my other videos, it was just ingrained in my mind. And of course, before writing this review, I looked through the book again. And it's something he says. It's something he says multiple times. And what it changed, right, is that it changed how I view products. I look at a product, let's say this Focusrite 2i2 right here, with which I'm recording. Earlier, I would just kind of enjoy it for what it is, which is awesome, right? Just take it, use it, it's nice that it's there. Now a lot more, I try to understand the background behind it. How does it work? How was it built, right? How do these individual components work together? More importantly, how can I create something like that? So it also changed how I view building skills, which is something I'll be going into deeper in the video. But, I look at something like that and I want to understand, for example, the mechatronics behind it, right? The product design behind it. I want to know how it was made. If you've seen my live streams, I'm learning through 3D design right now. I'm learning mechatronics right now. It's because I want to understand how to build these components, how these work together. Really what it changed is it replaced, I'm going to go and get someone to do it for me, to how can I do it, right? How can I solve this problem? How can I create something? From consuming a video to how can I create a video? It also changed how I view rich people. And this one's interesting because I grew up with a certain disdain, dislike for rich people. Snobby, or like it's just unjust, a lot of those things. A lot more now, it's replaced with like a curiosity for the process. How did they get there, right? I want to ask about their skills and their struggles. Like, what did you learn to get there? Because behind most of the rich people, there's a lot of work, right? And that goes unseen, especially in a perspective where I was taught not to value that as much. So it's important there that I started talking more with skill builders, right? People that have those skills. If you look at my donation project, the moment I met Sabine Wert, an incredible person, she's the founder of the Berliner Tafel, I latched onto that as much as I could because I wanted to learn, how does someone even make something that huge happen, help that many people, because it was very close to what I wanted to learn and what I want to do in my future. Which leads me into my next point, which is skill building. What I want to learn now a lot more is I want to learn valuable skills. I'm looking to understand the core of things, right? Going deeper into how things are built. I look at the Focusrite 2i2. I'm taking that as an example again. Mechatronics would be kind of the end part of it. How do I bring all the individual parts together? How does the electronics work? How do I create an interface? Going deeper would be, how is the metal bent? How are the resources created and sourced? How are they brought together? Going deeper into the creation process and understanding how things are made. The deeper you go into these things, right, the rarer the skill becomes. And as a result, the more valuable it becomes, right? Which leads me, again, into my next point, which is the world of value. It taught me about the world of value. See, it's all about creating value. When you have a business, when you're trying to help someone, when you're trying to change something, you're trying to provide value. What that means is that now, a lot more than before, talking about behaviors, I am looking for problems to solve. I listen to people, I look online, I try to find problems, and I try to understand what that problem-solving process can look like. If you look at my LinkedIn, you'll see a bunch that I learned from the donation project that I ran, because it was so many problems that came, and that I tried to synthesize in a way that I could understand and work with them to solve future problems. Right? The more lives you can impact, and the more severe that impact is, the bigger your income, the bigger your change, the bigger your value. Imagine changing the lives of a few people, but therefore very severely, like a doctor. They make pretty good money, right? Or imagine changing the lives of many, but maybe not as severely, like a microphone maker. Where the biggest value comes is if you do both, right? Think of Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, right? These people, they create products that influence the quintessential aspects of what it is to be human. Socializing, the interaction of receiving value, right? Creating value, both ways. All right, as you can see, it is evening time. I just came back from my dad's place and I ate some good food. But let's keep it going, right? So what I was saying was that I want to focus on entrepreneurship. He has this amazing list of reasons, and to me, they really made a lot of sense, especially the one around control. A company, if HR doesn't want you around anymore, you're out. If a disaster happens and they reduce their size, you're out. If there's conflicts, you're out. If your boss is useless, you can't influence that. And kind of having that control, to me, was actually really important. I noticed it definitely made me more stressed. This book wasn't only positive, it definitely made me more stressed about my future, about my career, about my choices. I try to think a lot more about my future with every choice. Now, that's a great thing, right? Combined with the stress, I think on its own, actually, it is a great thing. It is something that, I think to a degree I just have to learn how to manage, but the stress on its own isn't a bad thing. I really recommend you watch some of these book reviews. Another thing he talks about is the process behind the event. So I also look at that a lot more now. You got to imagine behind every event is a whole world of processes. Someone gets really good grades, right? All you see is they're getting A's, and they kind of do it more passively. Then there was a lot of work behind there to build a lot of that knowledge beforehand on which you can understand all this new information better. That was really big for me. These events, how important that process is behind it. That's also, why learning programming became so much more accessible, because it's a process and the event is being able to create the apps. You know what I mean? It all just takes crazy work. It takes crazy work and dedication to make something happen, to make anything happen that makes a change. So I stopped gaming, you know what I mean? I stopped going out as much. I stopped drinking when I was with friends so that I can be ready for the next day. I question the efficiency of my time use a lot more than I did before. As a result of that, I live a more purposeful and satisfying life, even if to a degree it is a bit more stressful. And I'm more okay with things not going as well. I understand that that's part of the process that'll at some point lead to an event. It's just part of building a skill. Which perfectly leads into the next point, which is just how much more I learn now. So You need to kind of understand your vehicles, right? You need to understand what drives things forward. And one of the most massive things that drives things forward is your knowledge. He had this great example of two people that want to build a pyramid. And one of them just gets going. He immediately starts, he's a buff dude, and he just starts logging blocks and stacking them on top of each other. And the other dude sits down and really thinks about it. He's just sitting there, and the people don't quite understand what's going on. And he's just sitting there, doing some stuff, calculating something. And 20 years later, one dude, he has like half of the pyramid built, the one who immediately started. And the other dude still doesn't have anything yet. And a month later, one of them is still just logging things. He's still halfway done. And the other one is suddenly 1/3 finished. And you're looking at it, and he has a crane built. Right? He built some kind of contraption that helped him build the pyramid faster. And with that, you got to understand your vehicles. What can drive you forward faster? What he did is he built something. He built a vehicle that drove him to his goal faster. And that's why learning is so important, because when you learn a lot of things, you understand how you can influence or build vehicles for yourself. You understand how you can optimize, maximize even your processes. And so it's been absolutely essential for me to never, ever stop learning, right? I read a lot more. I spend a lot more time trying to update myself on the information in the world. I look at current important news, things that are happening. I look around opportunities around the world, right? Not only just in Europe, I look in Africa, actually a lot in Africa. I look in Asia, I look in America, Australia, New Zealand. I actually don't look at New Zealand, I'm going to be honest. No hate. But I'm just looking around more. And I really like this quote. I want to read it here. I wrote that every choice you make has an immense impact. Study the wrong thing, and now you might not notice, but 5, 10, 20 years down the line, you'll feel the impact of your actions. There's something beautiful in there, though, when I understood that your actions still influence the outcome. For example, secretarial studies or diploma in printing are things that you might have studied that used to be valuable, but that are replaced now with technology. Sometimes you can't know what choice is good. But I find solace in the fact that you can stack a lot of good decisions on bad decisions. As long as your good habits and decisions outweigh your bad ones, you can come out on top. That's why it's so important to keep learning. You can watch TV every day and spend a whole life doing nothing. You can watch a documentary every day and learn new opportunities for growth. You can take one step towards building a business every day and grow faster than anyone you know. But you can also watch TV every day, but as long as you watch a documentary and take a step towards building a business, you're still going to come out on top. And I thought that was valuable. Think about it, right? So it's okay to make bad decisions. It's okay to make wrong decisions as long as you make more good decisions, as long as you make more good habits. And that's been super important to me. It kind of took the stress off of making bad decisions. It kind of made it okay to, maybe go in the wrong path for some time, because I can find solace in the fact that I'm learning and increasing the likelihood that I'm doing the right thing. Because I don't think you'll ever find certainty in your path. You can just try to optimize and maximize it. And what that really means, all in all, is that I take more accountability, right? The good and the bad in my life is my responsibility. It became so much more solidified the way he explained it. If I don't do anything, I won't get anywhere. It's, kind of what my second brother said to me. And it all made sense coming together along the lines of this book. Now, what that changed about my behavior is that I am a lot more likely to act to change my circumstances. Let's say I'm not having the impact that I want to have. I'm a lot more likely to go ahead and change that. I'm not creating the value for people that I want to create. I can go and change that. I don't have the resources that I want to have, and I can go out and change that, right? I can build more knowledge if I feel like I'm dumb. You know what I mean? I can get more muscles if I feel like I'm too fat. You know what I mean? I can do things to change my circumstances. I'm not I'm not a subject of the world. I can take action to change the world. Lastly, I want to talk about some quotes and ideas that influence me from time to time, just random things I think about that are loosely inspired by this book. If you think about whether you can afford something or not, you can't. And that kind of reminded me of Fight Club. There's that quote, people buy things with money they don't have to impress people they don't care about. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you can't afford it, just don't even think about it. He makes another point somewhere along the book where he says, anyone that doesn't empower you slows you down. And I think it's really interesting because you have to remember those people, they're not, mean-spirited. They're not villainous or anything. They just don't see the vision you have. And so they can't support you. They still want the best for you, but it's their best for you, right? It's not your best. And so these are kind of people I think it was Alex Hormozi that said that listen to the advice of the people you want to become. And lastly, I learned that you can influence luck. You have to stand in its way. If you spend your whole time at home not doing anything, you're kind of putting yourself out of luck's way, unless you're learning the whole time. But at some point you have to put these skills to use. That's why I find networking so important, because I get to meet so many people. I kind of feel like I'm maximizing the luck of getting to know awesome people. I feel like I'm putting myself in the way of people where we can grow together. Somewhere else, that's not the case. In school, I felt like that really wasn't the case, right? People weren't really inspired to do anything. And so it's really important to seek an ideal environment, one in which you can thrive. And that's been kind of one of my biggest lessons so far. I always had that feeling that I needed a different environment, but now that process is a lot more tangible. That sums up pretty well how this book changed me and how it'll be influencing me going forward. I hope you enjoyed. I enjoyed it for sure. And I hope maybe I inspired you to take up this book. If you do decide to read it, there's a link in the description if you want to support me. And beside that, it really helped me grow. And I hope it helps you grow too. And we'll continue to grow, as we often have, and we often will again.